Dear grandpas and grandmas, let me take you back to a golden afternoon in 1960. A place filled with nothing but laughter, no tears at all. Picture a sunlit yard where a stick, a rock, and a bit of imagination could build a whole new world. If your dinner's done and you're resting in your favorite chair, then come along. Let's turn back the pages together. Because tonight's story is a cheerful one. No tears at all, just laughter, echoing across a sunlit yard in 1960. Do you remember what games we used to play? Jump rope, tin can toss, or just a stick and a rock, enough to imagine a whole world. But I look at kids now, sitting so still, eyes glued to their screens, and wonder, do they even laugh till they choke? From falling back into a pile of dry leaves? Well then, if your dinner's done and you're in your favorite chair, with that little lamp glowing, let's turn back the pages and revisit the games of yesterday just once more. Have you ever sat by the window, looking out at the empty yard, and wondered, what do kids play with these days? Oh, I see it all the time. The boy next door. Every afternoon he sits on the same old porch step, clutching his iPad, headphones on, eyes locked onto that tiny screen, while the sunlight still stretches across the yard, quietly, as if it's waiting for someone. No shouts calling to one another. No one jumping rope, kicking shuttlecocks, or crunching through dry leaves. The whole street, strangely quiet. Back in the day, Grandma said, if you wanted to play, you had to run. Sometimes fall flat, roll in the dirt, mess up your clothes, even tear the hem of your pants. No one taught you how to play, no manuals, no instructions, just a big imagination and a few friends who could dream the same thing. Grandma played with little Annie, the red-haired girl, always wearing that braided string necklace. And there was Matt, with his gap-toothed smile, the best tree climber in the whole neighborhood. Annie would draw the fort map, while Matt gathered sticks, shouting cool lines like, "From now on, I rule this forest." One day, they argued like crazy, just over who got the shiny green marble. But that afternoon, Matt secretly slipped the marble into Annie's pocket. No one said a word, but the next day, they were back playing together, as if the war had never happened. I grew up far from that time, but every time Grandma tells her stories, I see it clearly. There was a time when kids lived in sunlight and soil. No Wi-Fi, no rankings, just a good loud laugh and a scraped knee. And even the wind that day seemed to drift slower, afraid it might tear the laughter from our memories. Grandma once said, back then, kids didn't have much, but we always had something to do. We'd wake up early, eat cold cereal real quick, then dash outside before Mom could catch us for chores. Summers back then, the sun rose fast, and that golden light, it poured from the roof like thick honey, warm and glowing. Morning grass, freshly cut, still carried that raw, earthy smell. The scent of fresh grass, mixed with the sprinkler's hiss, felt like it was waking summer itself. All of it, the perfect soundtrack for a day of endless adventure. Once, Grandma said, she lay down on the grass, eyes half closed, staring up at the blue sky. When she opened her eyes, a whole swarm of yellow butterflies had landed on her friend's hair. Everything felt dreamlike, weightless, but somehow etched deeply into memory, even now. Just a pair of shoes, or none at all, was enough for a full day of play. Back then, there were no phones, no tutoring schedules, no math apps or automated lessons. But there was one thing everyone had: imagination. Kids made up their own games. Sometimes they were astronauts, exploring the backyard, like stepping on the moon. Some days, they built forts, using scrap wood from the fence, old cardboard pieces, tied together with black rope. They called it the cubby. And every afternoon, they'd crawl in, chatting like little generals planning world maps. Sometimes, they all worked hard to build pushcarts, from wood frames and marble wheels. Bill from next door used a fruit crate for the seat and a stick for the handbrake. No brakes, just loud screams going downhill, and laughing so hard when they crashed into the grass. No one ever died, Grandma said, but every kid had a bruised behind. Yo-yo was sacred. The kid with a Coca-Cola red yo-yo, always the coolest one in class. Every year, Duncan sent someone to school, doing tricks, teaching moves, walk the dog around the world. The kids gathered close, mouths wide open, like they were watching real magic. Summer meant jump ropes, paper boats, and ripped pants from too many falls. The girls chanted songs, jumping 3 at a time, the rope swooping like ocean waves, the middle one laughing out loud. The boys kicked soccer balls, shot marbles, or climbed trees so high their parents pretended not to notice. No one kept score, no scoreboard needed. Catching the ball? That was winning the lottery. No uniforms, just worn-out t-shirts and shorts with frayed knees. They played till sunset, then sat on the ground, sipping soda from bottle caps, cheeks flushed from all that fun. Once, Grandma said, she came home late. Her mom stood waiting in the yard, arms crossed, not angry, just silent. As long as you come back, I'm glad. But next time, just let me know, okay? From then on, she learned freedom still has its limits. And that was her first lesson not found in any book. That tree, she once sat there all afternoon, just watching clouds. I thought I could live up there, quiet, unseen, she laughed. In autumn, the kids played leaf stomping. The crunch underfoot, the scent of damp wood and crisp wind made everyone feel a little more grown. In winter, snow blanketed the backyard. Kids slid downhill on bin lids. Some had real boards, the rich ones, but they all rode the same slope. In snowy towns, they had night sledding, cheap, packed, and buzzing like a street fair. Every day was full of laughter. No one ever felt tired, only sad when they heard Mom call dinner time. Dinner time always meant the end of play and the beginning of homework. But some nights were special. Grandma said, Sunday evenings, the whole family gathered around the TV. Just 3 channels, ABC, CBS, and NBC. Black and white screen, fuzzy sound, but they all huddled close. At 7 sharp, the wonderful world of Disney would begin. That glow, though dim, was warmer than any flat, perfect 4K screen today, she said. On lazy days, kids would head to the library, pick a Peanuts comic or Archie or Nancy Drew, and hold on to it all week. She said, walking into the library back then felt sacred. Everyone whispered, and dreams lived on paper. The kids, in their scout uniforms, mud-streaked faces, ropes in hand, pitched tents deep in the woods. And at night, they told ghost stories in the woods, while toasting marshmallows over fire. As they grew older, one would learn guitar, trying hard to master a Beatles song. Another started a garage band, banging pots as drums, recording on a cassette player. When the White Album came out, some camped outside the record store, as if waiting for a national holiday. She once delivered newspapers, pedaling her bike before the sun had even risen. She mowed lawns, swept yards, washed cars, saving every coin to buy that little leather pouch for her bike. Once they had enough coins, the kids would walk down to Mr. Ray's shop at the end of the street. It was a tiny shop. Wooden door creaked. Bell jingled each time someone opened it. Inside smelled like paper, peppermint candy, and chilled soda. She'd buy a red candy cane, a piece of chewing gum, and if she had enough, a baseball card for her collection. Once, she got a duplicate card, and it felt like losing a best friend. No one gave it to us. We had to earn it. And maybe that's how we knew we'd grown. That world, it wasn't perfect. Sometimes you got picked on. Sometimes you scraped your forehead. Sometimes you had to hold back tears, alone. But we all knew, in the end, having a friend, a breeze, and something to dream of was enough. Listening to Grandma, I fall silent. Sometimes I laugh. Sometimes my heart sinks, like the last kid left behind in a game of hide and seek. These days, kids are always busy with entertainment, but I wonder, are they truly present? I see them lined up at the playground, holding phones, eyes glued to tiny screens, instead of looking, teasing, tumbling, and laughing under the sun. They laugh, but it's with the game. When they win, a loud, yeah, that only the headphones ever hear. They play together, but only through a screen. Lose, they curse, still inside that world. And when the screen goes dark, they might not even recall each other's names. No more counting 1, 2, 3. No more wood clattering for backyard forts. Just fast taps, quick as reflexes. One time, I asked my little nieces to jump rope, like Grandma used to. They grinned and said, "We don't know how, Auntie. Is there a tutorial?" I laughed, but something in me dropped. Because now, the thing they're best at is tapping a screen. I had a paper boat, folded by Grandma. Now the kid next door has 5 remote-controlled drones. I'm not sure which one truly stirs the heart. Maybe kids today are better at tech. But we knew our friends' names, their laughs, and who got mad fast, but forgave even faster. On a screen, there's no smell, no sunlight, no dust. Some kids have never even fallen and scraped their knees. Mom said, back then, if you got hurt, you blew on it and stood up. Now, kids fear dirt, fear falling, and fear not getting a like. I don't blame the kids, grown-ups. We're spinning just the same in this world. Where is the porch where moms once called kids in for dinner? Where's that old front step where neighbors met without ever planning to? Maybe it's us. We forgot how to be together. And so kids never had a place to just be kids. But every time Grandma tells a story, my heart softens. And I wonder, will these kids one day have stories to tell? Will they sit by their grandkids and say, back then, I ran under the sun, screamed until I lost my voice, afraid I'd never find my hiding friend. Last night, I sat on the sofa, lamp casting gold across a page, and heard the soft giggle of the girl next door. I peeked in, saw her playing alone, a character jumping, collecting nonstop. On a tiny screen, she stared at for 2 straight hours. Then I remembered Grandma, a June afternoon, folding me a paper boat from the last page of our wall calendar. The boat zipped past the porch, landed in the grass. Folded from the last page of an old calendar, Grandma smoothed the creases, pressed a line with her nail, like sealing in a heartbeat. The red ink bled softly, still smelled of old bookshelf air. When it landed, I ran after it, wind in my hair, cheeks flushed. I looked up and saw her smile, that soft one, like she'd flown with it. I shouted like I'd just launched a rocket. She simply smiled and said, "It flew. See? That memory." No scores, no results. But even now, I still feel like I won. Maybe kids grow up differently now. They know more, quicker. But sometimes I still believe something's missing. Something they haven't had time to name. It's not a toy, not a device. It's the feeling of running under sunlight with someone. Just because. One day, I believe, they'll remember too. They'll remember slipping on a wet floor, screaming in the rain, or that one cart with no brakes flying downhill with laughter trailing behind. And maybe, someday, they'll tell their grandkids too, about a childhood not tied to the internet, not plugged into Wi-Fi, just a long enough street and a heart not yet full of memories. If you could go back, which game would you play first? A paper boat? A marble? Or just one quiet climb, listening to the leaves breathe? Maybe the most beautiful thing wasn't the game itself, but the person we played it with. I hope, after tonight's story, you'll remember at least one game that once made you laugh till your belly hurt. And if there's someone beside you, maybe, just maybe, you'll tell one more story. Sweet dreams. May you find yourself small again, still running barefoot across dew-covered grass. Tomorrow's invitation, same time, okay? If you can still hear me, we'll sit again, and I'll tell you about an old trip to the market when Grandma bargained.